Hey, Great Day Inspires, another day of learning awakes us all. This is the Elevate Life Accountability Check-in, so it must be Thursday. I am going to say something that might be a bit controversial, but I promise you will be okay in the end. I am back over at the United States Olympic and Paralympic Museum here in beautiful downtown Colorado Springs, Colorado. If you have a chance to visit Colorado Springs, please put this museum on your schedule. Come over and visit this incredible museum. It is the most accessible museum in the world, and this is an accountability that many people did not count on. The museum was supposed to be a spiral going up like a discus thrower, so guests would walk up. That's how the building was designed. However, when talking with the Paralympic athletes, the wheelchair user said, it's really hard to push up 3 flights in our chairs. So they made a suggestion to start at the top and wind their way down to the bottom. Frickin' brilliant, right? And with other accessible features, anyone that comes by this museum can experience it at their own level. It's powerful in accountability, and that's because people held themselves to account to make it so. So let's jump into our accountability session today with a bit of a twist. Accountability. When I deliver my keynote speeches, one of the action steps I often invite an audience to take is to create one action step towards a new idea that they had from the conference and implement the beginning of that idea before 10 o'clock the next morning. I'm not asking for them to have the entire idea completed, but begin to create forward progress towards the end state. Then I ask them to pair up with an accountability partner who is actually in the room. I invite them to call that person at 10 a.m. the next morning and share whether they took the action step or not. And finally, they are to share their experience with me. I give them my email address, and I rarely get people to do it. Accountability is hard because we have to hold ourselves, well, to account. Today, I want to examine the word accountability from a different perspective and offer some other reasons people might not hold themselves to be accountable. Accountability is a word that belongs in every leadership book, every executive roundtable, and every motivational speak. It's the background of great leadership, the gold standard of performance. That separates the good from the great, or so we say. As I stated today, I want to flip it. Sometimes, just sometimes, people can weaponize and not optimize the word accountability. We praise it when it serves us, but we avoid it when it exposes us. And the truth? Many leaders, many teams, and even entire organizations don't hold themselves to account. Not really. I even get caught up in the too much on my plate syndrome, and some tasks I said I was going to do by a certain time don't get done. Then I'm up working into the wee hours of the night to ensure that no one is waiting on me. What happens when accountability becomes an illusion? Well, for one, leadership suffers. So why don't people hold themselves to greater account? I think there are 3 reasons. Nobody wants to be the fall guy or fall gal, and accountability can feel like blame. So instead of embracing it, we deflect it, we delay it, or we disguise it. We create justifications, blame circumstances, or point fingers. But real accountability, it's not about shame, it's about ownership. Let's say something like this. I own that piece of the project. You can count on me to deliver it to my team by 3 o'clock p.m. on Thursday. Does that work for you? In fact, why don't we check in on Wednesday just to calibrate? I may have some questions or get stuck. This helps the entire team know where projects are. In professional speaking, I have to be accountable in many areas. Let me give you an example of just one that always bothers me. It is early in sending my slide deck over to the conference professional. I know they are just trying to do their jobs and put the entire runner show together, but for me, I have polling that I need to put in later because it doesn't flow for the full time, and other interactions that I want to put in at the last minute. Mind you, it's not last minute, it's just something I believe the audience will resonate with because I would have just been with them. Maybe I took a photo with one of the attendees and want to repeat the story they just gave me in a previous corporate event the night before. But if I have to send my slide deck in early, I can't put that in. But this is on me. I must be in service to the conference professional. So I am sending my slides. I will always send my slides in early when they need it. However, after doing this for a while, I now understand what I might be able to do to come to a bit of a compromise. I come up with a new deck on a memory stick, and it takes the tech crew about 3 minutes to upload it into the system. So I'm sending the slides in for my accountability to my meeting professional, making sure that they are okay and they know that I have prepared for the event, and my accountability to the hardest working people at the conference, the conference attendees. I can usually hold myself accountable to them because I'll take my whole presentation and put it on that memory stick. Second, accountability expresses limitations. And if a full responsibility, I have to admit I didn't prepare enough. I have to acknowledge I miscommunicated. I have to accept that I didn't lead well. That's uncomfortable for all of us. And most people avoid discomfort like the plague. I remember showing up to an event and the program had my champion mindset presentation and not my amputate to elevate program. Though I had enough time to prepare the other presentation, I had not rehearsed it in a while. Because of my lack of preparation and me misreading, I knew I could not serve my client at the highest level. And most of it had nothing to do with the speech. Most of it was cutting into my time to prepare for their pre-event gathering, so I could gather some of the information for the next morning to put in that presentation that I gave to the conference professional. And I didn't tell the client this, and the session went off great. But afterward, I thought to myself, what if I had read that program book just 5 minutes before I went on that stage? We need to prepare enough and find ways to hold ourselves to account so that mistakes like that, like I just made, don't happen. Third, accountability means giving up control. If I am genuinely accountable, I have to let others step in. Many leaders are unwilling to let go of their reins, the reins of their organization or team. They're always trying to hold the team to account for every aspect of the business, yet at the same time, not holding themselves to account, to trust their team and the team members that they hired to do that job. I want to make sure that my team does their own KPIs. I have to have that ownership without overcompensating for others' weaknesses. And for many leaders, that's terrifying. But let's flip the script. What if accountability isn't about blame, but about building trust? What if accountability isn't about exposure, but about elevation? What if accountability isn't about control, but about creating alignment? That's where real leadership lives. So today, we're diving into 3 critical areas where accountability must show up for you as a leader. Number 1, clarity and communication, the accountability of precision. So let's talk about meetings, the breeding ground for chaos or clarity. Dominic Edgegar's Anarchist Guide to Meeting humorously lays out exactly how to sabotage an event, ignoring your timings and go into it with no clear objectives, just vibes. And let's be honest, how often do we see that play out in authentic leadership? A meeting starts late. No one knows the objective. People talk in circles. And after about an hour, we all say ready break. No clear next steps, just another follow-up meeting. That's not leadership, that's failure of accountability. I learned this firsthand in La Jolla when I was set to speak for 45 minutes, but the event was already 35 minutes behind schedule. I had a choice. I could pretend the schedule didn't matter or be accountable to the event's flow. I made sure that I asked if I should cut my time to get us back on schedule. They said no, but I was ready if needed. That's accountability, not just to my message, but to their event, of who I'm serving. So here's an action step for you. Ask yourself, are you holding yourself accountable for clarity in every high-stakes conversation? Before engaging your team or stepping into a meeting, answer these 3 questions. What's the goal? What's the timeline? What are the constraints? Clarity isn't about knowing your message. It's about owning your responsibility to communicate it effectively. Number 2, creating socially rich work environments. The accountability of culture. Accountability doesn't just live in conversations, it breathes in culture. Great leaders don't just create strategies, they design environments. Back in the day, connection was easy. You walk into a room, energy was felt, and the interactions were organic. Now, hybrid, work, Zoom fatigue. Many leaders are using outdated playbooks and falling out of adaptation. I saw this happen in the speaking industry when everything went virtual. Many of my colleagues panicked. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do my keynote on this online thing. So I studied talk show hosts, and I watched Trevor Noah from The Daily Show transition from a live audience to delivering comedy from his apartment. And I thought, if he can pivot, so can I. I adapted. I recorded in new environments, reimagined engagement, and carried that back into my own professional and personal events, integrating dynamic storytelling techniques that weren't even in my playbook before. Great leaders evolve, but that takes accountability to adaptation and innovation. So here's your action step. Ask yourself, are you designing your work environment for engagement or just letting things happen? If you lead in person, are you fostering organic connection beyond the boardroom? If you lead remotely, are you using high production engagement? Are you using those techniques to make virtual feel vibrant? Because accountability to culture is accountability to connection. Number 3, empathy-driven leadership, the accountability of emotional intelligence. So let's talk about the hardest truth in leadership today. People are exhausted, they're lonely, disengaged. The pandemic didn't just shift the way we work, it shattered how we connect. And the reality, leaders aren't just expected to drive results anymore, they're expected to create belonging when they don't feel belonging themselves. The problem, most leaders aren't accountable for emotional intelligence, but we say we care about people. But do we actually show up for them? A staggering 80% of employees are disengaged at work, and 30% are actively working against their company's success. That's not an employee problem, that is a leadership problem. And here's the twist, leaders are just as lonely. We haven't allowed ourselves to grieve what was lost during the pandemic, and we haven't created support systems for the very people expected to lead others through this change. That's why neuroscience, happiness research, and even sleep science have surged in leadership conversations. An engaged, well-rested, emotionally connected team doesn't just perform better, they stay. Then they stay with you. So here's your action step. Ask yourself, are you holding yourself accountable to emotional intelligence? When did you last check in with your team beyond performance metrics? Are you creating an environment where people feel valued, where people feel heard and psychologically safe? Are you designing workplace cultures that foster human connection, not just productivity? Because accountability isn't just about results, it's about relationships. The final call to action, accountability isn't a stick with which to beat people. It's the foundation of trust, clarity, and leadership impact. So I challenge you, take radical ownership in these 3 areas. Be accountable for communication because clarity drives momentum. Be responsible to culture because connection fuels performance. And be accountable for emotional intelligence because leadership is about people, not just productivity. Because accountability isn't the enemy of leadership, it's the proof of it. Now, I want to hear from you. What's one area where you need to step up your accountability game this week? Drop it in the comments. Let's have a chat about it in the conversation, or you save it for our executive leadership forum that we're going to have. And if you're ready to dive deeper, join the Executive Roundtable, because leadership isn't just about knowing what to do, it's about committing to doing it. So let's lead, let's elevate, let's own it. Here is an action step for you today. Sign up for the Elevate Life Experience Executive Roundtable that we're going to have on February the 27th. We have them once a month. These events happen every month. They are about an hour long with great conversations from leaders all across the world that we have, and we'll cover these topics. I break them down even further. Just click the link with this video and I will see you there. Thank you so much for listening in today, and let me know how I might be able to be of service to you. Yes, I'm a professional speaker, meaning I make my living using the spoken word to breathe life into others and help them win the medals in their lives. So please do not keep me a secret. If you know of an event where my message on resilient transformation or change management would be a great fit, or amputate to elevate success, I thank you in advance for an introduction and an endorsement. Please just send Jasmine a note at jasmine@johnregister.com. That's Jasmine, Jasmin, @johnregister.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next Saturday for our next Executive Video Think Letter. Go forth, inspire your world. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.